Parents out there, I want to spend the next 5 minutes talking about self control, fits, and tantrums. Really, some of the most important things that you can train into your children is that ability to control themselves. Remember, at home, everything that we're doing is pointing them towards things that we want them to experience in the future. And I want to raise up an adult who can control themselves, that are not driven by desires that take them out of things that are going to give them a great life, because we built the self control muscle. And so, everything that we're doing at home, when we have boundaries within the home, self control. So, one of the most important things that you can do with your child is making sure at a very young age that we have room time. We started as literally as an infant because we believe in sleep training, that if you've been played with, if you've been changed, you've been held, you had time together, and you've been fed, well, then we'll put you down for some room time if you're going to cry. And what is that doing? That's teaching the child to get themselves happy, in a sense, to control themselves. They self-soothe is what they call that. But then as they get older, we make sure that every day at 6 months old, they have a little bit of playpen time. So that looks like about 10 minutes, and Holly would set it up. And what is that doing? Well, you could confine area, and you have only a toy or two to play with, and you're learning to be happy within the confined area. And once again, this is building up the ability for self-control, the ability to control one's muscle, your emotional muscle, in a sense. And so then at about maybe a year and a half, right, maybe 2 years, you start having some room time. Oh, here you go, play in your room, right, not with a lot of toys, maybe one or two toys, learning to focus, learning to play with a single thing, learning to be happy with a little. Maybe it's just some paper and crayons today. Color in the lines, right? Color in the paper. And so you're teaching your child, yeah, I gave you a crayon at 2. Can you have the self-control to color within the piece of paper, not outside the paper? So we're working on the self-control muscle. And we make sure that twice a day that child works up to about a half an hour. And that's nice for mom and dad. It's nice. I can go get some stuff done. Hey, time for room time. They go into the room. They have their little bit of time, right? And here we go. So I'm slowly building them up so that when they get to a school and the teacher says sit for 20 minutes, they've been doing that since they were 2. So this is not a hard thing. And so self-control within the home. We're not loud. We don't run in the home. We have boundaries in the home. You'll be loud. You can go outside. But inside the home, we don't get to just make weird noises at the table. Of course not, because I need to train you to have control over yourself. In the car, we're quiet in the car. That starts to be, I start to talk to them at a year old. Obviously, they don't fully grasp it yet. But I practice on me to practice on, oh, we're quiet in the car. And the 1-year-old sometimes is not quiet in the car. That's all right. It's not the end of the world. But I'm saying it, right? And then around 2, oh, sorry. No, we're quiet in the car, right? And when they begin to get a little older and maybe they're playing a little game, we don't allow them to have their volume up. I don't want to hear your volume at all, because that's not being others conscious. So I want to make sure that I'm conscious of other people that are around me. And so you see that everything that I'm doing, not touch this, I don't have to put the remote up at a year old, right? I'm constantly teaching them, oh, they can see the remote, but I have the self-control at a year and a half, not to touch it, not to touch mommy's pretty things, not to put my hands on the glass, right? So everything that we are doing at this young age is building that ability to control themselves. Because if they don't learn that, then in junior high and high school, when the world begins to offer them desires of the flesh, if I can call it that, things that they shouldn't do, friendships begin to try and pull them, they built a control of oneself muscle that's going to guide them into success for the rest of their life. Whining, that's a self-control thing. I want a drink, and they whine about it. And parents are like, oftentimes like, don't whine, and then they give them a drink. You never reward a whine, ever. Never reward it. You'll never get anything from me with a whine. What we do is we put a timer on. It changes with the age. Obviously, a 2-year-old, right? I'm not going to put a 10-minute timer on. That feels like it's 9 days. But I may say, oh, and I'll put like a 20-second timer on, right? I'm like, oh, when this goes off, you can come back and ask correctly. So there's a little bit of a consequence with it, and the timer goes off, and they come back and they go, may I please have a drink of water? Well, of course you can have a drink of water. I'd love to give you that. And you see how just a little bit of steering, it wasn't hard, it wasn't big discipline, right? Now they're 7 years old, and I want to, and you're like, oh, 5 minutes from now, see, it's different at 7. 5 minutes from now, the timer's going to go off, and you can come back and ask again. So I'm training them to have a control of oneself. And the whining, in the tantrum area, what we want to do with that, as soon as they begin to throw a tantrum, at any age, like I said, we start off as a baby, right? They've been fed, they've been played with, they've been held, and now you're not happy. Nobody knows why. So we put you in the crib, and here we go. And I'll wait, and then they'll stop crying. Sometimes in a couple minutes, sometimes in 5 minutes. If it gets excessive, of course, use wisdom and guidance. But usually after about 5 minutes, they'll stop, and I'll go in there and go, "Oh, all done." I'll say that to a 6-month-old, "All done," and I'll pick them up, reassuring them. Do they fully comprehend it? Not yet. It's training me, but also those words. They're starting to hear that. 9 months old, "All done?" Yeah, pick them up. A year old, now things are getting a little bit different, right? They wanted a cookie at the table, and you said, "No, you can't have it." And they begin to cry, and you're like, "Oh, sorry." Right? And you put them in, and you remind them, "When you're done, I'll get you." As soon as they're done, you come pick them up. You go, "All done." Right? So they're slowly at a year old, at a year and a half, learning that. And about 2 years old, now they're kind of comprehending. And now I can send them to the room at about 2 and a half, and they're upset. I'm like, "Oh, go to your room till you're done." What am I showing? You can have emotions, I get that. But we don't want to raise up kids whose emotions affect everybody in the world. That have, right? Your mom's mad, so the whole house is down. Dad's having a bad day, so everybody, right? No, when we go out into the world and around people, we can have emotions, but there's a way in which I can convey my emotions, and there's also a way in which I don't infringe my emotions on other people, but there are times you're not going to get your way, and you have to control your emotions. There's times your boss is going to have you do something. You got to control it. Your spouse is going to say something. You got to control your. It's about teaching and building our children the ability to control their emotions. And so it's always been simple and easy for us, for every single kid. Oh, and little Savvy's 3 years old, and all of a sudden she starts, I'm like, "Oh, go to your room. You can come out when you're done." And she'll go down the hall crying. And usually now at about 3 years old, maybe 3 and a half, they just turn around halfway down, and she would turn around and go, "All done, Daddy, all done." I'm like, "Get in here," right? We kind of is happy. It's great. And she learned at that moment that you're not going to emotionally manipulate me. Make sure that a tantrum never gets what they're throwing the tantrum from. That's just confirming that your tantrum is going to get, because what's going to happen is when you tell your 15-year-old they can't go out, now you're going to get a 15-year-old tantrum. And let me tell you that's not a pretty tantrum. I've counseled many parents. That's a crazy tantrum. Right? So we're training them as a young age. Control your emotions. Control yourself. Build the self-control muscle, because you're going to become an adult one day when in your marriage, maybe there's somebody that's making a pass at you, right? There's things that are coming your way, something at the office where you could just steal a little bit. And like the devil comes in many directions. And if we want to make sure that we've equipped our children properly, then we will equip them to be people who have the control over oneself. Be blessed. Remember, train up a parent.